Judge Jeanine is one of my favorite people in the world because she does all of her updates in hair rollers. I think it's awesome. Welcome to Doug in Exile. We've got 8, 10 subjects we're going to just glance over in this thing, but I wanted to start with Jeanine Pirro doing an update in her hair rollers because she's awesome.
I am fed up with this nonsense about Abrego Garcia. This mother dirtbag doesn't belong in this country. And as far as I'm concerned, any Democrat who supports him has really chosen to be someone who is anti-domestic violence. This guy is a batterer. He beat his wife, or whatever she was, in front of a neighbor. He beat her in front of her sister. He pulled her by the hair. He wakes up at 3 a.m. and starts beating her. She has videos. She has photographs. She goes to court twice. She has credible, believable evidence. She gets orders of protection. And in the end, she ends up dropping the charges. Why? Because she's suffering from battered women syndrome. She minimizes it because she's afraid of him. And her ex-husband, who's the father of her children, he files an order in court because the wife said she was going to kill herself. He was afraid his children with Abrego Garcia would end up with an MS-13 gangbanger. And
liberals are not, they say they're feminists, or I should say feminists and liberals say that they're pro-woman. They're not pro-woman. If you go on the wrong side of their political view, they will destroy women. They will protect abusers of women like this illegal gang member. That's why I'm holding them out to task. And Jeanine Pirro, she's not, she loves people. She loves families. She wants to protect women. And that's why she's not a Democrat.
He is a gangbanger. Why? Because he's got all the tats on his fingers. I spent 30 years in law enforcement. I had a gang unit. I started the first domestic violence unit in the country. I am not an ideologue. I am an experienced law enforcement professional. Enough with this dirtbag. The guy was bringing in smugglers for money. You got 8 men in a car. No one's got a license. Even Abrego Garcia doesn't have a license. They call ICE. ICE didn't show up. So he goes away and they give him a citation. The guy is a gangbanger. He's an illegal. He's a batterer. And batterings increase in frequency and intensity as time goes on. This mother banger does not belong here. And if Senator Van Hollen and the rest of them want to support him, then you should make sure that you understand they are siding with illegal criminals against the victims in this country.
We're going to get back to Jeanine Pirro. She was sworn in today. But first, this is on the direction of the Democrat Party. We're going to have a lot of these videos, too, on how bad off they are.
No reckoning there. I think you have, leaders, individual Democratic leaders who have just been completely disappointing to most people watching this, who have not stood up, not showed spine. People have raised their voice. It's the thing
when Democrats do stand up and show spine, they stand up for illegal wife-beating gang members. That's why people are really upset at him. They stand up for the wrong thing. He's going, they won't stand up. No, they do stand up. They stand up for gangbangers who beat their wives.
I hear most from people. You haven't had one leadership shuffle. You haven't had one new leader. You haven't had anybody say, you know what, I'm not adequate to this moment. This sounds like a very negative analysis, and it is.
It is, because there's nothing positive to report about the Democrat Party, and that's what's so important. Here's the All In podcast with more of the same on Dems still think Trump's style will sink him after he's done nothing but win with it.
If you read Heather Cox Richardson or the emails and texts I get from my Democratic sources, as I said before, the Trump administration's over. It's just a bankrupt, corrupt mess, and he's already a failed president, and he's not getting anything done.
He's quoting Democrats in media saying that Trump is his presidency is already over.
That's their point of view. They also are very taken with his wearing a MAGA hat at a Memorial Day event, or to give a speech rather, a West Point graduation speech. They're taken with his tweet, his Truth Social post saying Happy Memorial Day, and criticizing Joe Biden. And they're back to a Adam Schiffian and Heather Cox Richardson point of view, which is everything Trump does is an epic disaster, and that the American people will turn on him and Republicans in the midterms because he's impolite. Dan, is this should they be focused on these things? Is that effective, or should they focus more on policies that are hurting the American people?
So Dan there on the right is a Democrat, and he's a straight shooter.
How's that for
I was just
Team
gonna
Bill?
say,
just say yes.
Just it's baseball season.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that's crazy. He is not an abject failure. In fact, I would say right now that if the tariffs, if the economy turns around, we have abjectly nothing to run on. Like, the only thing we have going for us are his stumbles right now, not anything that we've done.
I got to call him out, go, what do you mean we have nothing to run on? Why are you still a Democrat? He's like, we're nothing but failure. He's nothing but success. Then why are you still a Democrat? Is it your religion? Is it like are you Reformed? Are you Catholic? Are you Jehovah's Witness that you can't get out of your religion? People change their religion all the time. You can change your party even easier, brother. We're going to get back to more of that on the idea that Democrats keep going like, we suck. I go, yeah. If you want to succeed, you're in the wrong party. Here's Sean Farash on the Democrats having no leader.
This begs a larger question about who is, in fact, the leader of the Democratic Party. And a recent poll showed Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez topping the list of Democrats who best represent the party's values.
This is evenly split, 10%, 9%, 8%, 6%, 2%. That basically shows that there is no breakout leader. In other words, only 1 in 10 Democrats even can hold their nose and stand AOC.
Senator Schumer got just 2% in that poll. And
Senator Schumer, who was complaining about Trump's low poll numbers a month ago.
it's been a big concern for months. So the Faulkner Focus went out to ask the question, who is the leader of the party?
Oh, God, the House is completely in shambles. So I couldn't tell you.
It's in shambles is everyone's agreement. It's a disaster. Meanwhile, look, Benny Johnson posted this. This is during Jeanine Pirro winning and being sworn in.
I do solemnly swear
I, Jeanine Pirro, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That's your new DC U.S. attorney. She's a stand-in, of course. She gets to keep that job for, I think, 200-something days, sworn in by Pam Bondi with Trump there in the background. Here's Trump introducing that moment.
Over 5 decades, Jeanine Pirro, known by Canadians as Judge Jeanine, has devoted her life to the pursuit of justice, the defense of freedom, and the fair, equal, and impartial rule of law. And that's what she's about. She was a great DA. I remember her very well. She was as good as anybody I've seen. She began a career in 1975 as an assistant district attorney in Westchester County, New York, where she prosecuted violent crimes. And that was a serious prosecution. And she went after real criminals.
And her resume is ginormous. And this goes along the line of Democrats are terrible to women because they will undermine her whole career and say that she's just a Fox News spokesman is how they describe her. Now here's, Stephen A. Smith is one of the guys that could be real big on the Democrat Party. Watch this Dyer destroy him.
Media has famously become like pro wrestling. Like Fox News and CNN is a joke. And now that's leaked into my sports. Now even sports have been politicized. Stephen A. Smith will just make up things and nobody calls him on it. And when you do call him on it, you must be a racist.
What do you mean he makes up things?
Stephen A. Smith wrote a book and he claims like, I made 75 3-pointers in a row. No one ever saw it. No one ever heard of it. He was like, I played in this many games. Now, I'm not saying I was Jordan or nothing, but I was good. I could shoot. There's no evidence he even played at that school. So what happens is a very petty guy at ESPN named Jason Whitlock is like, let's just investigate this book. Dude, Stephen A. Smith lost his mind for like 3 months because he's like, stop looking into this stuff. Yeah. He started calling him Stephen A. Myth.
Stephen A. Myth. That's going to be the name for him if he runs for president. We're already doing our opposition research and he's showing up to be a complete fraud, which we called out already because he always talks like this and has nothing really to say. He'll be a perfect candidate for the Democrats to run, of course. We have Sachs. I'm going to actually quote him later on the Doge cuts. This is on the auto pen. He believes Elizabeth Warren was running the auto pen.
This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the auto pen during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community.
Elizabeth Warren ran the auto pen during the Biden administration. That's David Sachs's theory. That is, different people controlled the auto pen for different parts of government. When it came to crypto, he believed Elizabeth Warren ran the auto pen. I just hadn't heard someone call out an actual solid name. That's our first solid name, is Elizabeth Warren. Here's a name that is not solid, but rather spine like a jellyfish, with Jake Tapper, where his son wants to be a cop. And Democrats called him racist. And he's going, you're not going to win a party that way.
I went on a left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless, and we were talking about my kids, because I think they were both people without kids. And they asked me about my son, and I said he was, he's a football player and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son, oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you are losing elections.
100. Hold on, son. This is why they're losing elections. You vote for them, Jake. You vote for the people that call your son a racist for wanting to be a cop. I say the same thing to Dan in that first clip. Why are you still a Democrat? This is your party. And yeah, they don't win because people like you keep voting for them, that they call your son, who merely wants to be a policeman, a racist. You moron. Now here's Pete Buttigieg. I love this one because I actually have a lot of things that I agree with him on this. It's very rare to find Pete Buttigieg in a moment of self-reflection where he's being wise and warning the Democrat Party on chasing people away.
Look, I mean, there's, Democrats have created this impression, I think partly because of the way we feel and talk about Trump, have created this impression that translates into the way we feel and talk about people who supported him. And that's the thing that I think really is a cultural struggle in our party. There's this sense of—
Why do you keep voting for him? Why are you in that party? You're in the party that makes opposition, that doesn't just attack the opponent, but goes after the voters. Good. You figured it out. We are all MAGA. We're all in support of keeping you guys out of office, but you still support it when you say we, we're condescending.
Of condescension. I mean, if I hear one more time, like a well-off liberal doctor or lawyer saying, quote unquote, these folks are voting against their economic interests, I just wonder whether they ever contemplated the fact that somebody could turn around and say, so are you.
You're a gay white man. Why do you keep voting against your economic and cultural interests? Are you crazy?
There's a condescension that is imputed to Democrats.
True. Not imputed. It's earned by Democrats.
I think we really need to deal with. So much of politics is—
if you ever dealt with it, you'd become a Republican.
Not just how you make people feel, how you make people feel about themselves. And so much of what they think of you comes down to what they think you think of them, largely because of our very justified horror at the abuses of Donald Trump as a candidate and as a president.
I think you should never hold office, and I'm thankful we dodged a bullet with you too. Hope you remain a Democrat, you and Stephen A. Smith and Dan and anyone who can't quite figure it out. Jake Tapper, that your son is being called, your 15-year-old son who just wants to play football and be a cop, is called a racist, and you still vote for those people. Show that you're in a cult. Come over to the Republican side. Open your mind. Start being pro-American. We want more patriots. Become a patriot instead of a cult member. I'm Doug in Exile.